Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and welcome to another deck profile. If you like this sort of content, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content. Today we are looking at Royal Knights, which I think a lot of people were thinking is going to be absolutely cracked again, given with all the new support. However, with the new decks, around like Hoodie and things like that, it'll be interesting to see whether or not it will be. This list is not mine. It is Dan's, Beardy Dan's from the channel. We tested Royal Knights the other day, on the day of release actually for BT23, and we kind of came up, well I say we, mainly him, I was just there to go, yeah, that sounds good. To kind of come up with this list, and this is what we've kind of come up with. It's got some little things in place to potentially do good against Hoodiemon. We need to actually test against Hoodiemon itself. But in terms of the actual kind of way it played and things like that, I think it's really, really cool, and definitely could be quite a cool way to play Royal Knights, albeit in a format which is not always the most favourable for it. But let's get into the card by card. So first of all, we're going into the egg. So this is Drasil, of course, from BT13. Breeding your turn, all of your Digimon can't Digivolve, so you can only Digivolve on your opponent's turn, so with Aces, for example, but we're not really doing that. Then your turn, breeding once per turn. When a Royal Knight trait Digimon card would be played, you may reduce the play cost by 4 and further reduce it by 1 for each of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. So the more things under the stack, the more you've got to be reducing, which is pretty nice. Then you've got the start of main phase breeding effect, which is reveal the top card of your Digi-Egg deck, then place that card and all of your Royal Knight trait Digimon as this Digimon's bottom Digivolution cards. And then it also has an inheritable, where when in the option card with the Royal Knight trait is placed in the battle area, gain 1 memory. It's kind of the core engine of the whole Royal Knights deck. It gets you memory whenever you're using your options. It pops things underneath it. Yeah, it's the egg that you have to use. Need I say more? Then we've got the new Drasil, which, confusingly, of course, the first Drasil was an egg. The new Drasil is a Digimon, which is fairly odd. 6 play cost, 9k DP. I believe the reason it is a Digimon is because of the fact you do physically fight it in Cyber Sleuth, but I could be wrong. Hand main effect. By paying 3 cost and placing this card as the bottom Digivolution card of your King Drasil 7-6D or Mother Eater in the breeding area, draw 1. Then all turns, when any of your Digimon with the Royal Knight trait or CS trait are played by suspending this Digimon, one of the played Digimon gains Rush, Raid, Reboot, and Blocker until your opponent's turn ends. So that way of giving Rush is really, really cool. It's kind of... Well, I say it's cool. It's cool from the perspective of a Royal Knight player, but not necessarily for everyone else, because obviously we saw Purge get limited, and then this came up, So, knocked something off my desk. There's... It's a very interesting card. I mean, Dan has decided to play it at 4, although some people were saying maybe play it at less, maybe play it at less. But it did work quite well at 4 for Dan, specifically because of the way his build works. It's then got a breeding inheritable effect. Start of main phase. If this Digimon has 6 or more Digivolution cards, you may play 1 Digimon card with King Drasil in its name from its Digivolution cards without paying the cost. You just get to play this back out, and then when you then play your Royal Knights, it will give them Rush, which is not bad at all. Then we've got 3 copies of the new magnamon. It's got Blocker, it's got Armor Purge. On play when Digivolving, draw 1. Then one of your Digimon with the Royal Knight trait, Royal Knight or CS trait, can't be returned to hands or decks by your opponent's effects until their turn ends. Obviously, in the early game, that doesn't really matter, but in the late game, that effect can be pretty cool. Just stopping your opponent from necessarily getting rid of some of your stuff. Obviously, the draw is very handy. Then we've got the omekamon from BT20 at 4 copies. Blocker, on play, if you have 1 or fewer security cards, this Digimon may Digivolve into Omnimon X antibody in the hand, ignoring Digivolution requirements and without paying the cost. Then on deletion, you may place this card as the bottom Digivolution card of your King Drasil 7-6D. There was 7D6, I should say, in the breeding area. And then breeding inheritable as well. When your security stack is removed from by suspending this Digimon, play 1 omekamon from this Digivolution cards without paying the cost. Which I always found funny that you have to suspend the Drasil to do that, because what business does Drasil have being suspended or unsuspended? It's such a weird wording to me, but you get to play out the omekamon. It's kind of still a core engine of the deck. Then we go into our level 6 dudes. So we've got the jesmon from BT23 at 2 copies. It's got Rush and Alliance, so if you do play this out, it has Rush inherently. Then Interesting with it though, does not have an on play, so it does not play out your token with it. So that alliance might not necessarily come up as much. You may play one and Poor token, or from your hand or trash, one Digimon card with system on its name without paying the cost, blah blah blah. But obviously you're not going to be using that when Digivolving effect at all. Then your turn, when any of your other Digimon are played, this Digimon may attack. So if you do get to then slap something else down, then you can do your rush attack with it, which is not bad. Then we've got the Gankoomon from BT13. There's not really any point using the newer Gankoomons in this because one involves Digivolving, one you don't have the trash targets for it unless you cater for it, like playing the Systemons, for example. As blocker, on play when Digivolving without paying the cost, you may play one Digimon card with System on its name from your trash, or one Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area, and this effect can't play Omnimon or Gankoomon, but everything else is fair net play, including Omnimon X Antibody, because Omnimon X Antibody is not Omnimon, it's Omnimon X Antibody. So the Gankoomon is pretty good for kind of helping you go wider. Then we've got two cards which work really well in conjunction with each other, which is first the kentaurosmon from BT23. So when this card would be played, if there are 6 or fewer total cards in both players' security stacks, reduce the play cost by 6. You've got blocker and you've got barrier. On play when Digivolving, you may place one yellow card from your hand as your top security card, and the target we have for that in this deck is Revelation of Light, which we'll get into later. On play when Digivolving, all turns, when this Digimon suspends, by trashing your top security card, it unsuspends. So if you suspend for any reason, you block or you attack, you get to trash something and unsuspend, which is pretty cool. And that works very well in conjunction with the new dynasmon from BT23. It has barrier. On play when Digivolving, by trashing your top security card, all of your opponent's Digimon get minus 6,000 DP for the turn, so that gets rid of a lot of pesky floodgates, for example. Then all turns, when your security stack is removed from, this Digimon gains security attack +1 until your turn ends. Then if you have 3 or fewer security cards, recovery +1. So it basically means if you attack him with this Kentaurosmon and then you unsuspend, if you've got dynasmon out as well, that will then gain the security attack +1, which is really, really cool. So both of these cards do work quite well in conjunction. Then we've got 2 copies of the new Craniamon. It's got reboot and blocker. All turns, when any of your Digimon or Tamers would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects. By suspending this Digimon, one of those Digimon or Tamers doesn't leave. So it just helps protect your coolboys, which is quite cool. See what I did? All turns. I'm so sad. Right, all turns, when this Digimon suspends, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. So again, another way of dealing with floodgates in general. Then we've got the alphamon from BT20, has the on play when Digivolving, recovery +1. Then if during an attack, one of your Digimon in the breeding area may Digivolve into a level 6 or lower Chronicle trait Digimon card in the hand or trash without paying the cost. I also just realised, hang on, this is when attacking as well. So you would use this effect. Just going back to it, sorry. So it plays out an and Poor from your hand or trash. Could also play a system on if you played them, and it's got reboot, blocker, and decoy red black. So when attacking, it will do it. So the only way to do that though would be to play it out, play something else out, attack with this. When attacking, play out the token. Bosh. Back to alphamon. So the other part of this effect where it puts something in the breeding area really doesn't matter. But all turns, when security stacks are removed from one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 8,000 DP for the turn. So again, that has synergy with Kentaurosmon and Dynasmon because you're removing security with their effects. Does also have the inheritable, when this Digimon would leave the battle area other than by your effects. If this Digimon is alphamon or ouryuken, by trashing your top security card, it doesn't leave. Now the only thing with this, though, is that in this build, you can't Digivolve on your turn, unless the King Dracula is no longer in the breeding area. So you're probably not getting that inheritable underneath your ouryuken. But ouryuken itself is still very nice. So on play when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 15,000 DP until the end of their turn. Then if DNA Digivolving, trash your opponent's top security card and recovery +1. Now just to check, so that's top security card when security stacks removed from when you're, so that doesn't trigger either of these then. No, it doesn't. So that will only work with the alphamon, but being able to recover and do a minus 15 is still very nice. And when security stacks are removed from, gain 3 memory. So again, a little bit of synergy with this. If this is on the field and these removed from the stack, you gain 3 memory. So that's pretty good. Also triggers itself as well. Then you got 4 of the Omnimon X antibody, which obviously you want with the omekamon, and in general, Omnimon X antibody is still really good. Raid, piercing, blocker, on play when Digivolving. If Omnimon or X antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, choose one of both players' Digimons and delete all other Digimon. Then return one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of the deck. So that is obviously very, very, big board clearance. And then end of your turn, one of your Digimon may gain Rush for the turn and attack without suspending. So we just got layers upon layers of Rush here. We've got Rush from here, we've got Rush from the Jesmon, Rush from the King Drasil, Rush from Purge. Really, really nice. Then we've got 2 copies of the BT13 one, and I was kind of surprised by the fact that we only played 2 copies of this, because this was always the big OTK ender with this deck. But the way Dan is playing it, where it's more of this kind of rush down style, let's chip away at them kind of thing, it kind of makes sense actually that this is not any more copies, and we've kind of gone for more of these other rush pieces. On play when Digivolving, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon, or play one of each Digimon with the Raw Knight trait and different names from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying the costs. When a Digimon is played by this effect, trash your Digimon in the breeding area, and all of your Digimon gain Rush for the turn. So obviously is your big play. Once you've gotten into it, it will win you the game. Then we've got 2 copies of Kari Kamiya, which is just in here to give you the memory, give you the memory tamer, so set you to 3. Also gives you a memory when you add something to security, which you're doing with alphamon, with ouryuken, with kentaurosmon, and dynasmon actually. So that will be pretty good for your general kind of stuff there. Plus it gives you a yellow tamer to use your Revelation of Light on. Now, Kari and Revelation obviously do have that extra synergy, where if you've got the Kari, you get to do extra bits with this, but we're not doing that in this build because we don't play any yellow level 4s. Then we've got 4 copies of Coolboy, which I think is kind of mandatory at this point. When your Digimon are played or Digivolve, if any of them have the Raw Knight trait, by suspending this tamer, draw 1 and gain 1 memory. An opponent's turn, when any of your Digimon with the Raw Knight trait would leave the battle area, you may play 1 omekamon from your hand without paying the cost. So, pretty good way of punishing them if something leaves the field. Then we've got 2 copies of Fire Rocket, and Fire Rocket I think is a really funny tech in Raw Knights. While you have a Digimon with Armor Form in its traits in play, you may use this card without meeting its colour requirements, which we do have an Armor Form, Magnamon, so we can do that for 1 cost. It also is red, and we've got a fair few reds to work off of, so that's not bad. Then main effect, one of your Digimon with 2 or more colours gains security stat +1 for the turn. This has 2 or more colours, 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 this is 2 or more colours. So many stuff for 2 or more colours, and especially if you use this in conjunction with dynasmon, you're giving it an extra security stat +1 when it's potentially going to give itself more. So that's a security stat +3, which is pretty handy. Then in security, it deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with blockers. That's not as handy. But a card that is pretty handy is Revelation of Light. Now, as I mentioned, you're not going to be doing the playing a yellow level 4 or lower card from among it without paying the cost, which is a may. It's not a mandatory. But just getting this into the security... Oh, actually, no, I got it the wrong way around. So it's the level 4 thing is what you do generically. And then if you have a tamer with Kari Kamiya in its name, place this card on top of your security stack. So... because we've got this Kari in name tamer, we can place that on top of the security stack. We can also place it in with kentaurosmon. And the reason why Revelation of Light is quite good, and like I mentioned, we didn't actually get to test this list against Hoodymon. We kind of ran out of time the other day. So I would be interested to actually do that and see how it goes. But in theory, this Revelation of Light is very good against Hoodie. Because if it's in security and Hoodie hits into it, that puts -5 on the board. All of the level 4s that Hoodie plays out, other than Hoodymon herself, are 5k. Which is pretty darn cool. I mean, I think the only thing... Keisuke. How does Keisuke work again? So, Keisuke... Oh, never mind. So, if this is out, if Keisuke's out, Revelation of Light does not clear them. If he's not out, though, it does. So, depending on the build or the board setup, that -5k could be important. Hoodie does have... This is what I mean about fucking Hoodymon. I'm going on a Hoodymon rant in a Raw Knights video. The more you analyse Hoodymon, the more you don't have counterplay against it. But in a situation where Keisuke is not on the board, and you've got that +1000 on all of your dudes, Revelation can really screw up the general loop. Because -5 on a whole board, you can't play out anything with that. So, that's pretty good. Then we've got 1 copy of Raw Knights of the Purge, because of course this is limited to 1. Main, draw 1, and you may place 1 Digimon card from your hand as the bottom Digivolution card of one of your King Drasil 7d6. Yeah, 7d6. In the breeding area. Then place this card in the battle area. Then main delay, play 1 Raw Knight trait card from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying the cost. The on-play effects of Digimon played by this effect don't activate, and they gain Rush for the turn. Which actually, assuming we've got some Digimon that just do things without having an on-play, so like jesmon, kentaurosmon to an extent, not having an on-play is not that bad, so there's that. And then we've got 4 copies of Last Guardian, just to round things off. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Coolboy and 1 card with the Royal Knight or X antibody trait among them to the hand, and return the rest to the bottom of the deck. And then place this card in the battle area. And then all turns, when any of your Digimon with omnimon in their name would leave the battle area, delay one of those Digimon doesn't leave. Still love the wording for that. And then security effect, you may play 1 omekamon or coolboy from your hand or treasure without paying the cost, and then place this card in the battle area. So it helps you with your general consistency, protects your omnimons from death, yeah, really, really cool card. But yeah, that is the deck, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Like I say, sorry we haven't tested it against every possible meta option, but in the testing that we did do with it, it was really, really, really good. I think the one specific match I do remember is we did Omnimon versus this, and Omnimon got fucking smashed, bro. I got absolutely, completely decimated in that matchup. Yeah, it's still, I think, gonna really put in the business. I just don't know how good it's gonna be. I don't think Royal Knight is king anymore, essentially. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you happy to see Royal Knights maybe in less of a meta relevant spot, or is it still meta relevant enough that you really hate it? You know, classically, I've never been the biggest fan of Royal Knights as a deck, in terms of playing against it and, you know, and all that. But you know, we are a team. I cover everyone's decks on the channel, so that's what we're here for. But yeah, hope you guys like this one. Like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and we'll see you again on the next video, whatever that may be. Most likely going to be an Eater's deck profile, but we'll see. Anyways, we'll see you on the next video, whatever that may be. Until then, keep it digital.